The rise of a global power. The story of America's rise to global prominence is a tale of ambition, strategy, and a complex interplay of economic, political, and cultural forces. Written by John Green from Crash Course, this chapter delves into the multifaceted journey of the United States as it transitioned from a burgeoning nation to a formidable global power. The late 19th century saw the United States emerge from its period of westward expansion and begin to look beyond its borders with growing ambition. This era marked a significant shift in American policy and vision. This era, often referred to as the Age of Imperialism, witnessed powerful nations vying for control and influence across the globe. European powers had already established vast empires, and the United States was eager to join the fray. The United States, fueled by a sense of manifest destiny and driven by economic and strategic interests, joined the ranks of these imperial powers. Manifest destiny, the belief that American expansion was both justified and inevitable, played a crucial role in shaping the nation's foreign policy. American motivations for imperialism were complex and multifaceted. They were not driven by a single factor, but rather a combination of economic, strategic, and ideological reasons. Economic factors played a significant role. The rapid industrialization of the United States created a surplus of goods that needed new markets. The United States sought new markets for its burgeoning industrial output and access to raw materials. Overseas territories provided both a source of raw materials and a market for American manufactured goods. The acquisition of overseas territories promised to fuel economic growth and secure American dominance in the global marketplace. Territories like Puerto Rico and the Philippines became crucial assets in America's economic strategy. Strategic considerations also drove American imperialism. The United States recognized the importance of a strong military presence to protect its interests. As the United States Navy grew in strength, so too did the desire for naval bases and coaling stations to project American power across the world. These bases were essential for maintaining a global naval presence. The belief that a strong navy was essential for national security and global influence gained traction. Naval power was seen as a key component of national strength and a deterrent against potential adversaries. Finally, a potent mix of nationalism and cultural superiority fueled American expansionism. National pride and a sense of destiny drove many Americans to support imperialist policies. Some Americans believed it was their duty to spread American values and institutions to less civilized peoples. This missionary zeal was often accompanied by efforts to establish schools, churches, and other institutions in newly acquired territories. This sense of cultural superiority, often intertwined with racist ideologies, served to justify imperial ambitions. The belief in the inherent superiority of American culture and institutions provided a moral rationale for expansion, even as it masked the more self-serving motives of economic gain and strategic advantage. However, it is important to note that not all Americans supported imperialism. There was significant opposition from various quarters, including political leaders, intellectuals, and ordinary citizens who believed that imperialism contradicted the nation's founding principles of liberty and self-determination. The Anti-Imperialist League, formed in 1898, was one of the most vocal groups opposing American expansionism. They argued that imperialism was morally wrong and politically dangerous, warning that it could entangle the United States in foreign conflicts and undermine democratic values. Despite the opposition, the United States continued to expand its influence, often through military intervention. Conflicts such as the Spanish-American War and the Philippine-American War were pivotal in establishing America's presence on the global stage. Through a combination of diplomacy, military might, and economic power, the United States solidified its position as a global power by the early 20th century. This period laid the groundwork for America's future role as a dominant force in international affairs. The rise of the United States as a global power is a testament to the nation's ambition, resilience, and ability to adapt to changing global dynamics. It is a story of how a young nation, driven by a vision of greatness, transformed itself into a key player on the world stage. To Cuba and beyond, The Spanish-American War and its aftermath. The Spanish-American War marked a significant turning point in United States foreign policy, fundamentally altering the nation's role on the global stage. It thrust the nation onto the world stage and solidified its transition to an imperial power, a status that would shape its actions and policies for decades to come. The conflict, sparked by the mysterious explosion of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor, pitted the United States against Spain, a declining European power struggling to maintain its colonial possessions in the face of growing resistance. Fueled by sensationalist journalism, often referred to as yellow journalism, and public outrage over Spain's perceived atrocities in Cuba, the United States declared war on Spain in April 1898. The media played a crucial role in swaying public opinion and pushing the government towards military action. The war was brief and decisive, lasting only a few months, but leaving a lasting impact on both nations involved. American naval superiority quickly overwhelmed the Spanish fleet, and United States forces secured victories in key locations such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. These victories were not just military triumphs, but also strategic gains that expanded American influence. The Treaty of Paris, signed in December 1898, officially ended the war. This treaty was a landmark document that reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the time. As a result of the treaty, Spain ceded control of Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Guam to the United States. These new territories were seen as stepping stones for further American expansion and influence. Additionally, the United States purchased the Philippines from Spain for $20 million, a move that would have far-reaching consequences for both the United States and the Filipino people. This acquisition marked the beginning of a complex and often contentious relationship. The Spanish-American War marked the beginning of a new era in American foreign policy, characterized by a more assertive and interventionist approach. The United States had acquired its first overseas empire, extending its influence across the Caribbean and into the Pacific. This newfound status as an imperial power brought with it both opportunities and challenges. The United States now had to navigate the complexities of governing distant territories and dealing with the aspirations and resistance of their inhabitants. This victory, however, came at a cost, both in terms of human life and the moral dilemmas it presented. The war and its aftermath sparked debates about the ethics of imperialism, the responsibilities of a global power, and the true meaning of American values. These debates would continue to shape American policy and identity well into the 20th century and beyond. A troubled peace. The Philippine-American War and its legacy. The Philippine-American War, a brutal and often overlooked conflict, cast a long shadow over American imperialism. While the Spanish-American War had been met with widespread public support, the decision to annex the Philippines proved far more controversial. Filipinos, who had been fighting for independence from Spain, resisted American rule. What began as an insurrection against Spanish colonial authorities quickly transformed into a bloody struggle against a new imperial power. The Philippine-American War was characterized by brutal guerrilla warfare, atrocities on both sides, and a brutal counterinsurgency campaign waged by United States forces. The conflict lasted for 3 years and resulted in the deaths of thousands of American soldiers and tens of thousands of Filipino civilians. The war exposed the contradictions at the heart of American imperialism. The United States, a nation founded on principles of liberty and self-determination, found itself engaged in a bloody struggle to suppress another people's fight for independence. The legacy of the Philippine-American War continues to resonate today. It serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of imperialism and the complex moral dilemmas inherent in projecting power on a global scale. Opening the door, United States economic interests in China. The late 19th century was a period of significant transformation and upheaval for China. As the Qing dynasty struggled to maintain control, foreign powers saw an opportunity to expand their influence and economic reach. As the 19th century drew to a close, China, weakened by internal strife and facing encroachment from European powers, became a focal point of American foreign policy. The country was rife with internal rebellions, such as the Taiping Rebellion, which further destabilized the region and made it vulnerable to foreign intervention. The United States, eager to secure its economic interests in the region, pursued a policy known as the open door policy. This policy was not just a diplomatic maneuver, but a strategic economic initiative aimed at ensuring that the U.S. could compete on equal footing with other imperial powers. Formulated by Secretary of State John Hay, the open door policy aimed to prevent European powers from carving China into exclusive spheres of influence. Hay's vision was to maintain a balance of power that would allow all nations to trade freely with China, thus preventing any single nation from monopolizing Chinese markets. It called for equal trading rights for all nations within China and for the preservation of Chinese territorial integrity. This was a bold move, considering the aggressive expansionist policies of European powers at the time, who were keen on dividing China into colonies and protectorates. The open door policy, while ostensibly promoting free trade and Chinese sovereignty, was primarily motivated by a desire to secure American economic access to Chinese markets. American businesses were eager to tap into China's vast consumer base and resources, seeing it as a land of immense economic potential. It reflected the growing economic power of the United States and its determination to compete on the world stage. The policy was a testament to America's burgeoning industrial capabilities and its need for new markets to sustain its economic growth. While the open door policy did not prevent the carving up of China, it did help to prevent its complete colonization and established the United States as a major player in East Asian affairs. The policy also laid the groundwork for future American diplomatic and military involvement in the region, influencing U.S. foreign policy decisions for decades. The policy would have lasting consequences, shaping United States foreign policy in the region for years to come. It marked the beginning of a more assertive American presence in Asia, one that would evolve through the 20th century and beyond, impacting international relations and global trade patterns significantly.